So, today I want to talk about planning and very specifically the plans that I want to put in place for the next 12 weeks. So, let's come back to that in a second. First of all, like many people, I have tried to sort of structure my life around the quarters in the year. So I make these annual goals, and then of course I'm breaking those down into what can I accomplish each quarter. And I have done that for several years. I have taken even classes and courses to try to get better at planning and creating projects that are in alignment with my goals, which are in alignment with my vision. And those are great. Like those, I have nothing bad to say about the courses I've taken. They have taught me a lot about productivity and planning in general. But I've had a lot of changes recently. As you may have noticed from my other videos, I quit my job as a school psychologist, and I have a lot more free time now to focus on my writing career and sort of all the other things that go along with being a writer. So there's a lot of administrative tasks, there's a lot of marketing things you need to do. There's things you need to sort of watch out for financially because now you're also a small business owner. So I just found that the processes that I was using or trying to use were becoming ever more kind of complicated. And they just seemed to the people who I had taken courses from seem to be sort of adding on and adding to the complexity where, this tool, which I guess, any planning system really should be a tool, was becoming more of a kind of hindrance on my life. It was becoming a thing on into of itself. Well, so I bought this book. I think, gosh, it was well over a year ago. And I did read it at the time when I bought it. But I would say I didn't necessarily take it and decide, I'm going to implement these strategies. This is what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you right now. Spoiler alert, the 12-week year by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. So this is what I'm going to be structuring the next 12 weeks of my planning on. And so I would also say makes a point too. I had mentioned I have previously done quarterly planning, and the whole point of the 12-week year, so if you happen to be watching this video and it's not the beginning of one of the quarters in the year, is that you can start these 12 weeks at any point in time. And their sort of premise here is that, get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. And so that we're shifting away from that sort of annualized goal planning, and we're going to kind of condense it into 12-week increments. And I think the point is to sort of help the user of this plan to sort of increase their execution. So their whole thing here is that it's not necessarily that we don't know what we're doing or how to do it a lot of the times. It's just that we're not actually getting around to executing those goals, because with those annualized thinking, we have essentially sort of the whole year to get things done. So that kind of resonated with me because while I have in the past done quarterly plans, they really were sort of based on this idea of what I believed I could get done in a year. And so I guess I'm curious, and this is kind of a little bit of a productivity experiment, and you guys can come along with me on the journey. I'll give you regular updates, is can I actually get more done in the next 12 weeks than I have previously done in 12 months? So we're gonna investigate and we're gonna find out. But first, let's talk a little bit about what that plan looks like. What are they talking about in their 12-week year? Why do I think it's gonna work for me? And what have I already sort of started to put into place as we're finishing out the end of quarter 2. And so I decided to just go ahead and start it, even though you don't have to, but I decided to go ahead and start it when Q3 starts, and then have that as the next 12 weeks that I'll be planning for. So now the quarter is a couple weeks longer than that. So my thought is if I actually got everything done that I'm kind of deciding to put on my plate for the next 12 weeks, then I'll probably take those it's like a week and a half or 2 weeks at the end of that as a little reward break for me. So that's what will happen in theory. We'll see. So essentially in the 12-week year, it starts with, like many planning systems, with a vision. And so you want to make sure that you're like spending that time figuring out where you want to be. But whereas, a lot of other planning systems are like, okay, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself at the end of this year? This is asking you to sort of focus in on, just the next 12 weeks. Like, what do you want to have accomplished at the end of these 12 weeks? And really just kind of becoming hyper focused on that. Now, I don't personally think that there's anything wrong. And in fact, I think there's a lot of value in having those big goals like that are 5 years, 10 years, 20 years out, because I do think that gives you like really great signage, for the road of your life in terms of where you want to be heading. But I really do think that sometimes those goals can be so far removed from sort of where we are today that having, a shorter increment, like 12 weeks to really kind of focus on, as long as you're making sure that what you're doing is in alignment with those larger goals, is, I think, going to feel like you're maybe accomplishing a lot more in a shorter amount of time. So again, we'll find out. Don't do too many goals. And I would say that's kind of the tenet of a lot of really great goal planning and productivity systems, is that they sort of encourage you not to have more than 3 goals, and ideally even one, if you just really want to focus on accomplishing one thing. Now, I will say I've been kind of rereading through this book, because it had been over a year since I had read it, and I was thinking about it, and I was brainstorming and taking sketches, and I was really trying to wrap my head around this idea of narrowing it down to 3 goals, which is what I have actually done in the past. And I found that I kept getting distracted, and I was having a hard time sort of focusing the idea of all the things that I kind of wanted to accomplish in the next 12 weeks under the umbrella of this 3 goal structure, we'll call it that. And I think it's because what I really want and what I really need is something that actually is going to sort of paint a broader stroke over my entire life. What I ended up doing was creating these sort of like project buckets, I suppose, for like 7 different arenas in my life. And so in a minute here, I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around, and I'll do a flat lay video so you can kind of see what I'll be working on. But the areas that I decided to focus on, we can just sort of talk about that really quickly. So the 7 areas that I've decided to focus on, and the first few should be of no surprise, are going to be writing and publishing. So that's kind of one bucket. The next is going to be marketing and social media. So that's one thing I really, in the next 12 weeks, I want to really start to get better about marketing my books. So I wrote Once Upon a Lie, and I have several other books too, but I want to really sort of up my game with regards to marketing in an authentic way. So, and honestly, this channel is a part of that, just trying to sort of reach a broader audience and also find a way to bring value to that. So that's my second kind of area that I want to really kind of get better at over the next 12 weeks. The next area is personal and health, because I kind of feel like how you're doing personally and your health is sort of the foundation for everything else that you're doing in your life and that you want to accomplish. And so if I'm feeling terrible, and I'm definitely one of those people, like I can't just muscle through it. If I'm not feeling well, everything else just kind of breaks down as well. And so I do think that if I'm going to be trying to be more productive, getting more done, more accomplished, then it's going to be really important for me to not let that health part slide. So that's another area. And this is where, so those were easy areas to kind of identify first and foremost. But then I kept, I have all these other sort of ideas and projects and things that just kind of churn in the back of my head. And if I don't have a place to put those, a place for them to live, for me to sort of review and kind of just brainstorm about what I want to do with them, I find that they're really distracting from me, and they can kind of keep me from being as productive and getting as much done as I want to. And so then once I sort of decided to let go of this rule that, you should really only have 3 goals, then it really sort of opened up like a sense of just, okay, I can actually use this system for more than just what they're asking me to. And that actually is going to relieve stress for me. So the next area that I decided was house and family. And so this is where I'm going to put, any sort of household projects that I would like to get taken care of over the next 12 weeks. Anything that's going on with Rod or the kids, or, us as a family that we're trying to either plan for, whether it's a trip or, someone's moving or getting something taken care of. This is another area that will be in my planner that I can have a designated space to kind of just write that information down and track it. And for me, just getting it out of my head and onto paper, and particularly into a planner where I know it's going to exist, reduces a lot of stress for me, and also just helps me stay focused in the moment and work towards the other projects that I have. So I think this is actually going to end up being a really good thing, having more areas where I can kind of track things. Because to be honest, I've never had a system where, I might have only tracked and wrote down plans for sort of 3 main goals, but let's face it, all those other things are always still churning in the back of my head at all time, and quite frankly, just distracting me. And if I don't have a plan in place for getting those done, which still need to get done, then I just don't see that is going to be an effective plan for me. So I'm going a little bit off script in what they advise in the 12-week year, and I'm having more goals in my planner. So anyway, the next area I decided was travel, because there's several things. Well, one, travel is just really important to both me and Rod. Our kids love to do it too, even though they're adults and they travel on their own now too. But so for instance, my 50th birthday is coming up next year, and Rod and I want to take a trip, like kind of a bucket list trip together for my 50th birthday. And so I want to and need to start planning for that now. We also would like to take a trip in the fall, once we kind of get past the summer, the height of summer travel and things like that. So I want to have a place for me and us to kind of like brainstorm and think about, okay, what could that possibly be? What would that trip maybe be? And then the final area was finances. Of course, who doesn't need to have a plan in place for their finances? So I have made like really great strides in this area over the last 2 years. I'm just sort of, wrapping my head around like budgeting and our family expenditures and things like that, trying to get sort of a control on where are all these subscriptions, what are these reoccurring, sneaky ghost charges that I think everybody in this day and age, has and is struggling with. But I have a few other things that I would really like to level up on. And so like for one, I would really like to either find a new accounting system or hire an accountant, sort of thing, to sort of help with business expenses and tracking that, because as my business has been growing, the need to sort of manage those areas outside of what is maybe just within my scope and ability. And unless I really want to like dig deep and learn a lot more about how to do that, then I'm probably either going to have to hire help for that, or investigate some better automated systems for just kind of tracking business expenses and doing taxes at the end of the year and all of this. Because I'll say, as I do the taxes in our house, and the last couple years, it's just been getting more complex, and I have to learn more every time I do it. And I feel like this year I kind of reached my threshold with that, and my willingness to kind of grow in my tax learning, any further. And so over the next 12 weeks, I definitely want to get better about some specific things like tracking expenses and organizing those expenses, so that when it comes time for tax season, whether I'm doing them still or we've hired somebody to do them for us, the transfer of that information is, I would like it to be seamless. Maybe that's too high a bar, but definitely something that is, much more manageable to kind of like get that data into our taxes. So anyway, a lot more learning that needs to happen in that area. So those are my big areas. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this and then do a flat lay. Okay, I'm back as promised. And so I wanted to share with you the planner that I will be using for these first 12 weeks and beyond, if it all works out. Now, I've had different versions of A5 planners before, and I've, packed them full of, different sort of tab note areas that were just specifically, for like goals, and other ones that were weekly tabs and daily tabs. And this is where I was going to, keep very specific notes about my book and all this kind of things. But honestly, like I said earlier, like I want a system that is going to be complex enough to meet my needs and help me meet my goals, while at the same time, simple. And so I'm really just going to try to stick with the basics. This is the Erin Condren A5 weekly life planner in the rings, obviously. And I got the horizontal layout, which I tend to prefer over the vertical layout. So we're going to sort of talk about that. And then I did it in the blooms, which is really, it was speaking to me more than the Ediv with the sort of bright colors. And so this is what I am going to be moving into starting in July. That's when I'm going to start my 12-week plan. But the one part that I did add to it that I wanted to share, and this is going to sort of get at the crux of, and remember, we're talking about this book here, the 12-week year, get more done in 12 weeks and others do in 12 months. And the thing that I added was also Erin Condren project pages. And so the reason why I like these is because I decided, to just try to help myself stay organized, I was going to have one of these project pages for all those 7 areas that I mentioned to you earlier in this video. So there's the writing and publishing, marketing and social media, personal and health, and business admin, that sort of thing. And I'll just kind of share this first page with you because this is the one that I've filled out the most. This is still a work in progress. I do have all of the each of the sort of bucket content areas I do have each of the sort of bucket content areas on its own singular page. And then I have the 12 weeks that's going to start on June 30th, and it's going to run until September 21st, so that I have that to kind of remind myself. And then I did put in this sort of project details part of the page, kind of the big ticket items that I wanted to try to get done over the 12 weeks. So where I will say this is a little bit different than what they advise in the 12-week year. They say, pick 3 goals. You want to basically essentially make them SMART goals where they're measurable and they're very specific. And that part I didn't do. So I have done sort of SMART goals in the past. I'm putting a pin in that aspect of the system for right now. And what I did was I wrote down in each kind of content area the things I wanted to accomplish. So for example, in this area, writing and publishing, I want to get my next book edited. So that's edit The Last Nanny. I'm just keeping them very global because of course there's a lot of steps involved in editing The Last Nanny. It's not just as simple as that singular statement. And so then we're going to see how that ties into other advice in the 12-week year. I want to prepare The Last Nanny for publishing, and I want to draft my next book that I'm going to start working on. So I would like to, this is going to be a big leap for me. I would like to get the editing and I would like to get the editing of The Last Nanny completed and also get it ready for publishing over the next 12 weeks while I am also drafting a new novel. So this will be sort of a leap for me to sort of be working on drafting a new book while I am getting another book ready to go out into the world. So again, it's an experiment. We're going to see how it's going to go. But now what I did here is this is definitely part of that 12-week year as they advise in the book. I'm breaking these kind of larger projects down into what they call tactics. So this is where you're going to see that, as under this edit The Last Nanny, one of the tactics or the sort of more micro things I'm going to need to do, or I'm going to need to do the first read through. So I always like to do that. I need to do the developmental edits. I need to do the line edits, the copy edits. I need to do the proofread. I need to find and send it to my beta readers, review and make the edits that any of those beta readers suggest. I need to create the back matter, add other book links, and so on and so forth. So you see, this is where under the tactics is where I'm breaking down these larger projects into the smaller components kind of thing. And so this is not dissimilar to project, not really project planning, it's like sort of productivity and planning courses I've taken in the past, where they would sort of like, you would have goals, and then you would break those goals down into the smaller, things that you need to get done. And some people go really, really granular with this because, even with like developmental edits, that's not a singular tactic. Like that's going to be, several rounds of going through that. And I just don't feel like I need that level of specificity in this part of my planning. I know that it's definitely a tactic I need to accomplish, and however long it takes or however many rounds it's going to take, that's just how long it's going to take. And so there's that. So essentially, this is what I'm going to be doing for each of those 7 areas. And so like, under my marketing and social media, I would like to get on track to be doing one of these YouTube videos per week. And then I have to edit and upload one YouTube video per week. Okay. So when I get around to breaking these things down, this is where I'm going to sort of, get into, okay, what are the tactics? And, on the back of these pages, I might actually brainstorm, okay, what would be some potential topics for those YouTube videos. So this is really, and I also have these loose leaf Erin Condren 6-hole punch pages that if I need to add to any of these and just kind of like elaborate more, those will just go behind each one. But this is going to stay at the front of my planner so that I always have regular access to it. And so I can kind of see, okay, where am I with any of these domains right now? What do I need to be working on in any given week? So this is the Erin Condren A5 Rings Life Planner in the weekly. So I'm not a real big fan of the daily pages. I have used them in the past, but I find I think I prefer just to kind of see the layout of the weeks a little bit better. So, on these monthly pages, this is where I'll sort of plan out how I'm going to be breaking down those larger projects, like what is the particular aspect. So like, this week, the very first week here, for example, I'll be working on those developmental edits. And who knows, maybe I'll still be doing those depending on what I kind of come across during that first week in the second week as well. But this is where I'll kind of plan out trying to get everything on those lists done by September 21st here, because that's going to be the last day in those 12 weeks. Then after we flip past the months, this is, of course, the weekly spread, and it's the horizontal spread. And this is where I will use this as a to-do list, basically, because I always sort of find that, that's my jam. I really like to sort of to-do list plan on things that I need to get done. So at the beginning of every week, and this is definitely advised in the 12-week year, you kind of do a review of where you are with your execution. Where are you with regards to executing those projects that you've laid out for yourself? And at the beginning of every week, whether you do it the Sunday before or the Monday morning, wherever, you carve out some time and you're planning out what you're going to accomplish for that week. Now, another part of the 12-week plan, and this is sort of gets at the accountability aspect of it, is that when you get to the end of every week, you're supposed to do what they call a WAM, and that is requires you to kind of collaborate with other people, and it's called a weekly accountability meeting. I'm not going to be doing that in terms of collaborating with other people, at least not right now. Who knows, maybe that changes in the future, but for right now, I'm just going to stick with, keeping track of, like, this is where I'll track my progress with regards to, through my edits for the Last Nanny. This is also where I will record the words that I've written, because, basically if I want to sort of, shoot for the moon and see if I can get a first rough draft of my next book completed in the next 12 weeks, and publishing plans and things like that. I'm also, I have my business and admin things that I need to kind of get taken care of things about the house. I have 2 chairs, just as an example, that I want to either get refinished because I really do like them. They're great chairs, but they need to have the fabric refinished on them. And so I'm either going to figure out doing that myself, or I'm going to need to hire somebody to do that for us. So, and then, some of the travel plans and things like that. So now not all of these are going to require me to be doing stuff on them every week. And so that's why I'm thinking that this is going to work. So, essentially, yes, I have 7 domains that I'm tracking, but it's really only going to be, the writing, the marketing, the publishing, getting the things ready to publish. And like, of course, some of the household stuff. Cause like one of the things that's like, I want to develop a weekly chore list, a monthly chore list, that kind of thing. But those are the sort of things that I'll be doing daily and weekly. Some of the other things are kind of one and done, but those pages that I have there, I think are invaluable because they're really going to provide me with a place to put, my spinning thoughts, because I do tend to sort of just have like, oh, I need to get this taken care of. And that car needs its oil change. And I need to reach out to this person about, that thing. And I need to renew, my mailbox, and it just goes on and on. And so if I don't have somewhere where I can keep all of those thoughts, then they just sort of spin. And so I do want to have a singular planner, because of course I travel so much too, being a flight attendant. And so having this with me everywhere I go and at my sort of fingertips, it means that I can take care of things while I'm traveling, while I'm out of town, if I'm on a layover, et cetera, et cetera. So that's essentially the plan I have right now. I've determined my 7 domain areas. I have written what I would consider execution goals. They're not SMART goals because I'm not saying like, oh, I want to grow my YouTube channel by however many, subscribers by the end of 12 weeks. Really right now I'm focusing on like things that are fully within my control. And that would be like production and execution on those different projects. And now I think maybe after I get through this first round, maybe the next 12 weeks, if this is working out, then maybe I do try having a few goals that are a little more specific. But right now, with the exception of getting the word count, that's really kind of the only one that's going to be, a specific target every week. It's really going to be like, these are, just kind of execution goals. You need to kind of get these things done. And I've determined that they're in alignment with helping me get where I want to be. So this is this. And if you haven't seen a flip through of this really it's such a beautiful planner. I couldn't resist it. The colors were just gorgeous. And of course I have, I think about 15 different of these binders. And so I'm really kind of hoping that this is going to work out, because then, maybe for August, I'll switch it up. Although I just love this green color so much. It is really very pretty. And now, in case you're wondering about getting one of these for yourself, these are not, the Erin Condren ones are not leather. This is a vegan leather. But some of my other binders I have are from Kiki K, cloth and paper. I have a Louis Vuitton as well. Those are all leather. So there's that. It's a really beautiful kind of package. And so I'm excited to get started in this. I've had this one sitting in my house for a while and haven't started using it yet. So it'll be fun to have it'll be fun to have some projects to get in place for it. So again, I'm going to be following the 12-week year, get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. It's a really great read. Like I said, I had read this book once before and hadn't really sort of implemented any of the ideas in it. And a lot of it is maybe like stuff you've kind of seen before, but especially, and I think that this, and I would be interested to know what the source material is, if this book is source material for other planning systems that I have paid to take courses in, or if there is even, source material that, this pulls from as well. But, essentially you've got your visions, then you're going to be making your goals, and then you have your tactics that are going to help you achieve those goals, and you're doing that weekly accountability. And, even this book, they even talk about that, the time blocking and setting your ideal week and things like that, which are definitely elements that I have seen in other planning systems as well. But I really like the way it's laid out here. It doesn't get too complicated with a lot of moving parts and, having a million different pieces and a lot of different planners and things like that. Like I need something that is simple and focused, and comprehensive enough to sort of handle everything I want to achieve, while at the same time being simplistic enough that it's not utterly overwhelming, just trying to stay on top of your productivity tool. So that's what I'll be doing. Thank you for watching this video. I'll definitely be doing updates over the next 12 weeks to let you know how it's going, if I'm sticking through it, if I'm sticking to it, and also giving you flip throughs of this guy as he gets filled up, and hopefully, helping me move towards getting those projects accomplished. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.